Well, hello, and welcome to New Mommy at 40 podcast, where we hold space for those entering or currently in parenthood at an seasoned stage of life, their 40s. I'm your host, Victoria. Whether you're new here or visiting us again, thank you for stopping by. Come on in, put up your feet, and enjoy being in the company of someone who gets you and the amazing and exhausting journey you've taken on. While you wait for our guest today, click on that subscribe or follow button so you don't miss a future episode. Right now. Oh, and follow us at New Mommy at 40 on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We'd love to hear from you. All right, here we go. It didn't happen in my 20s. Who cares? Now I've got all this fancy wisdom to share. Hey, I've got this baby, you're getting the best of me, 'cause I'm a new mommy at 40. Not while I'm interviewing. It's our Valentine's Day special. Today we're going to be chatting with Kat and Kurt Bieg. Kat, or Cathryn, is a dating and relationship coach, while Kurt is a game designer, and together they're probably the coolest couple I know. They are going to be sharing some great tips, especially if you're single and in your 40s and looking to start that family. You don't want to miss how they approached bringing that up on the first date and raising our standard. And those of you who are married with baby and in your 40s, you'll want to hear how they keep that spark going. And also, who's Jeff? You'll find out soon enough. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day.
Happy Valentine's Day. And Galentine's, it's like way bigger this year.
Galentine's is huge. It's become a movement. Hashtag Galentine's Day.
Yeah, I'm having a Galentine's Day date in addition to my Valentine's Day.
Well, look at you getting
Isn't that
all
weird?
the Valentine's dates.
Not to brag, but I got invited. I didn't put it together. Yeah,
I
you
just
gotta
wish
have a
guys
lady friend.
also had the equivalent of that.
It's called football for most men.
That's true.
Okay.
I think that's our domain, right? It's
The
like
Super Bowl.
football day. Don't bother me. Call my friends.
It's like, come on, I'm watching the game. I am no longer into football. It's all wrapped up into another relationship baggage. So let's get to how we met. We met at a play group for our kids. Your Coda, the cutest ever, and my Carrie. And we didn't know we were in the same age at the time.
It's so rad. I've never seen this before. When I talk to other people, they don't have it, right? In their towns where the towns are organized. Someone a long time ago, years ago, organized the mommies by year of the birth of your child. So our children are born 2020, so we're in that group 2020. And so that's how Victoria and I met. The funny thing is you don't realize when you're in those groups the age disparity of the children. So
Yeah.
Carrie is how old now?
She's just turned 2.
Exactly, 24 months, right? And then Coda is 15 months, which that is a big disparity. So I showed up to these groups too, I felt like older mommy, you don't realize it and nobody's making a big deal out of it, but you just start to put 2 and 2 together and notice. But I was the oldest mommy with the youngest baby, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I get to learn from everyone and just see what they're doing.
But what I liked about you two from the beginning though was that Kurt was there.
Yes.
I think you joined in later, Kurt, when we first met. I thought, oh, that's so cool. I felt like that instantly kind of shaped for me who you were as a couple and individuals, that it was important for you both to be there with Coda. Is that fair to say?
Oh, yeah,
Kurt?
that's definitely how we approach parenting, and particularly with him. Yeah, it's definitely been from day one, we're going to work together and try to overlap everywhere that we can so that it's not siloed parenting. I mean, that's inevitable. So I'm not saying that it's let's not have any specific responsibilities. That's inevitable. You definitely fall into your instinctual, animalistic kind of daddy mommy things
Roles.
but where we can, we always try to make sure that we're cooperative, working together, and that we can kind of lift each other and do each other's stuff.
When you guys met, were you at a place where you were ready to settle down with somebody, or was this kind of was this an intentional partnership in the sense of you were looking for someone to be life partner and parent?
Yes. Yeah, we absolutely were. So like Kurt always said, I like when Kurt tells a story, but I'll give you a teaser. I was very much ready to settle down. I was single perpetually, and Kurt already was settled down. Dun dun dun.
Yeah, so we met on Tinder. I was recently getting through a divorce. I had been with my partner for 10 years, and I think 3 of it we were married. So I had joined Tinder, and I knew what I was looking for. I really put like an intentional, here's me, I make video games, and I'm looking for, someone who's going to be my partner in crime kind of deal.
He said he wants someone who he can laugh with all the time and take over the world.
That's what it was.
Pinky in the brain.
And so I was really keen on that. Like, I wasn't looking for hookups. I wasn't looking for, let's just mess around, it's fine, whatever. I was really like, this is Amazon shopping, and I want to find the best reviews and order the best product, right?
And it better be here in 2 days.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly.
And there she is.
And it was it was intimidating, going back into the dating scene at 35. My first date, I still remember this. This girl pulled out 3 cell phones, asked me if I minded that she met other partners in different cities, and then proceeded to argue with me when I told her, just in passing, that I thought 50 Cent's In the Club was probably the peak mainstream rap hit of our lifetime. She got very angry at that, and then that date ended. It definitely ended. And I felt sad about it. She came out of the bathroom at one point. This was the part that was really sad. She came out of the bathroom and sat next to me, and I said, do you think this date is going okay? And she looked at me and she goes, I'm going to give you a quick tip since you're new at this. Don't ever ask someone that question on a date. And that was it. We walked out. I was like, wow. I was like, whoa. So that was a doozy. I'm not kidding you. I left that night and I went home and I thought, if this is what dating's going to be like, this is going to be difficult. But, I'm very resilient and persistent. We're just going to have to get rid of these extra people who are just not really trying to have less than 3 phones in their pocket.
Yeah, and it was same for me.
Kat's way of doing it is amazing.
Yeah, so I have a book about it actually to teach women how to find their husband online, like on.
Oh yeah, we're going to talk about that for sure.
Oh yeah, but basically, okay, so I'm a relationship coach. Maybe I should just drop that right here. And so for women who are successful but single, this was the beginning of my research. When I met Kurt, I was already researching how to find your husband, basically, and like educating myself about men, things I didn't understand, why were things happening to me that were a pattern, and not being like a sad sack about it, definitely reflecting on myself, like, what is my deal? Why am I single? Not in the, oh, why am I single? But in the, not legit, like, what's my deal? If I can see why everyone else is single, what's my deal? And so the deal ended up being that I wasn't being selective enough and holding to my standards because I was worried that I wasn't going to find him. And so, I was 36. I was just coming out of long-term relationships, short-term relationships. They were all the same. They were just going nowhere. It was like, these were not guys I was going to marry. And so why was I in relationships with them? And so I just swiped left so much more than I ever had in my life. And that's something I never would have done. And I think a lot of women who are like just dating, but they hope to find the man that they're going to end up with, they do this. We lower our standards for the date when we would never lower our standards for the husband. And so we end up in these dumb relationships that are hardly, it's like quotation, relationship, right? Yeah. And we wonder where our husband is, and it's like, he's probably out there like waiting for you to stop being dumb. Like that's what he's doing. And so guys that I would have swiped on and thought, oh, he seems cool, he seems like on my level, I just started going, nope, this is not my husband. I just started really putting in my head, this is not my husband, this is not my husband. I only swiped right on anyone that I thought, oh, that could be my husband. And I wouldn't go on many dates with them either, or at all. Like if they didn't ask me on a date, that was just like, bye-bye, see you later. Like, and it wasn't in a negative way. It was with gratitude, like, thank you. I don't think we're looking for the same things, bye. Because like if a man doesn't ask you on a date within 24 hours of chatting each other up, he's not serious. Like you can tell the way Kurt talks about, I knew what I was looking for. That's how men are when they're trying to get married. They're trying to find a quality partner for their whole life, to have children with them. And we just started saying no to things that we would have said yes to in the past, but we were done with it.
No,
It was just like,
you knew your standards. Yeah. Now you
Yes.
knew what you wanted. It was clear, and you knew who you were. You know, once you have truly arrived at yourself, you know what you're deserving of. So now, how long did it take for you to go from date to marriage? Because you said you met at 35 and 36.
Yeah.
So when did you guys get to marriage?
And the moment that she messaged me on Tinder, I knew coming out of a divorce, this is a real deal. Like, I just remember the first message she wrote me was like, this is very different from anybody else I've talked to, even outside of Tinder. I know this is a big deal, and I can't be half in my divorce or half in myself coming out of my divorce. I have to be fully committed if I'm going to meet this person. And I mean, instantly I was like, yes. And so we went on our first date. It was great. It was just amazing, perfect, just awesome date. Mm-hmm. The very first thing that was important to me was waiting until we had our first argument. And that took a while. So like Kat was sold right off the bat. This is great. Everything's like, let's move forward. And there was no part of me that was like, wait, like, I don't know. I was like, yes, let's do this. But I want you to know that we have to wait until we have our first serious argument, because we need to know if we can be great at our worst.
That's very wise. And how long did that take?
6 months.
6 months,
yeah. We got into our first, we had like small little arguments,
Yeah,
like,
this was like a big, like, whoa.
This was the big one.
Maybe we should reconsider if we're for each other. Do we believe the same things?
Yeah.
About life?
I don't even remember what the argument was about at this point.
Yeah, it's all how you argue, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's telling. I think whenever you can forget the point of an argument, shows that you can get over even bigger things. I feel like that's very telling, that you can't remember what the argument was about now.
Well, it led us to this place where I went out to go see Kat at her place, because she lived in Jersey, I lived in Manhattan. So I drove out to her, we went to go get breakfast, and I was kind of like, I really want this to work, and do you want to make like team rules that are for these types of arguments and things that happen, and make these rules together? And we ended up calling it, we named our relationship Jeff. So like, these were the Jeff rules. And the way it was kind of presented was like, separately we do things as individuals, but when you're in a relationship, you kind of do things as a group that neither of you would do. Like maybe you go see some like French foreign film together. I would not do that by myself. She might not do that by herself, but like Jeff would go do this. So we made these rules, and it became like, Team Jeff was our thing. And once we did that, this is a person that I can work with when we're at our worst. And we put those rules into effect, which was also, you have to wait until the next argument. When's the next argument? When can we try our rules to see if they're going to work?
Use. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and some of them were really simple, like simple things that we learned about ourselves that made a huge difference that we still even use today, like asking the person on a scale of 1 to 10 how important what they're arguing about is. Because we had some arguments that were, for me, a 2, and then for Kat, they were an 8. And had I known that it was an 8 for Kat, I would have approached it totally different, right? But when you're at a 2 and someone's coming at you like aggressively about something, what you're thinking is, this person's 2 is completely way out of line. Like,
you can flip it too. It could be like, if he says 2, Kat, you can go, oh, he is not aware at all. So he's not aware. So that would disarm me a little bit, because then I would say, okay, I'm going to have to explain this. This is going to need some explaining. Because you're at 2. How could you not be at 8 like I am?
Yes.
Right?
Like when you're at an 8, it doesn't occur to you that could be a 2 for someone, right?
Right. No, never.
And it really helps to bring out the compassion, because I think when you always argue just as a human, you're arguing with yourself. Like, you immediately think the person you're arguing with is you, right? Like, you first identify that person and you want to talk to them as if you would convince yourself of something. That's your first thought when you engage in arguments. Asking that simple number question has a huge impact, because it immediately puts the person outside of you. Like, when I find out that Kat's an 8 on something and it's a 2 for me, it brings out compassion. Like, oh, wow, I had no idea that this was so important to you, right? Which is something I would not say if I was just straight up arguing with someone who I thought was myself and has my same ideas and could be, talked to in the same way.
That's brilliant.
So we argued for 2 more years after that, and then we just got married.
Yeah.
Argued straight through that moment. So 2 years after that, so that was like the 6-month mark, the argument, and then 2 years after that, you got married.
Yeah.
So you basically had a year. So you had a year before Coda's arrival to just.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
That's about right. Yeah.
During pregnancy, Kurt, what was pregnancy like for you? And do you feel society even thinks of a man's perspective as a
totally.
partner?
I think society's, right off the bat, which is always the way it is. I think the stereotypical labels and just culture surrounding dads is just so way off and wrong, right? It's either portrayed in commercials with dads who don't know how to do anything and can't figure anything out and would never dress in pink for their daughters, right? Like, it's either that or it's some other version of it, which is stoic, can't talk, doesn't communicate, never vulnerable, emotionally unavailable. You're not annoyed with your wife for having demands. You are excited to resolve your wife's issues or wants so that she can be comfortable. You want your wife to feel like she can relax so she can nest. The only problem that I really had as a man, it's just you can't do anything again to make sure the child is safe. It's not up to you. There's nothing you can do about it. So when certain things came up like gestational diabetes, as a dad, you're just like, cool, so what can I do? And they're like, you can go warm up the car. And you're like, and you're just like, it's just, again, that feeling of like, but how do I make sure the baby stays in there? And they're like, you can't.
And then for you, Kat, like, in your experience, I didn't know you had, Kurt just explained about gestational diabetes. Was it a pretty easy pregnancy for you up until that point?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say. So I should say too that we lost one baby already. And so you go into the second pregnancy with that, thank you, with that fear of first of all, you don't know how common it is. For me to just glaze over you saying sorry is because at this point you talk to so many women and everyone's like, that happened to all of us, basically. Mm-hmm. So many women, it's happened to, and you don't realize because people don't talk about miscarriage as much as we probably all should so that we understand, right, how common it is. But we had one baby, lost it very early, within the first, it was within the first 3 months, we lost the baby. And so it was one of those, it's over before you even go anywhere. But the second one, you are very nervous. And so the joke that we had later in the pregnancy was God, this would be a great pregnancy if it wasn't for all these doctors. So there's a thing about being older when you're high risk, right? Pregnancy is that they check you all the time.
Yeah,
and
everything.
So something circumstantial just happened where it's the first 20-week ultrasound, Coda's head was blocking one of the many measurements they have to take of the baby, right? So instead of just doing the ultrasound on the outside, they had to go inside me and do it transvaginally. And that's when they found out, just by coincidence, that my cervix is shorter than it should be. And so the whole thing with your first baby is that just how you are as a woman? Because it could be. Or is this baby just going to fall out of you any second? Right? Mm. That's how we felt. And so there's this thing we kept looking up called incompetent cervix.
Oh, yeah, that's what they called it.
I remember
an incompetent cervix.
Nothing, just the patriarchy of medicine is never more obvious than when you are a pregnant woman. That you're just just I got this incompetent cervix.
Can we not insult the cervix while it's doing its job?
Exactly. Can we get some sympathy here? Come on now.
From 20 weeks. He would take me for a walk every day, do all these things to make sure we're healthy through this pregnancy because we're already worried that we're older, right?
Right.
And so we couldn't walk anymore. We weren't allowed to have sex anymore. So we went the whole pregnancy with no sex. It was the worst. It was horrible because they were oh yeah, there's all these things you can do to weaken the cervix further. And then I had to take, the estrogen pills, but you have to stick them up there and they melt like a suppository basically. And so I had to take those every day. So it's I was also goopy. And it was it was just crazy. And so we had all these diagnoses. So we never let up on these diagnoses. So it was the incompetent cervix. Then by the time, and then so they would check us we had ultrasounds every week, right?
Oh, yeah.
Every week I had an ultrasound. This is not normal. So every week I had an ultrasound to check, is everything still okay? Is the placenta intact? Blah, blah, blah. And so, and is there enough fluid around Coda? Blah, blah, all this stuff. And so you're counting down because they give you these probabilities. So they give you these D days constantly of like, if you can make it to 28 weeks, if you can make it to 32 weeks, if you can make it. So it's always if you can make it. The chance of your baby not having a horrible death or a horrible life is much and much lower, right? So that was all the way until the infamous like sugar test. So we're through now all of the incompetent cervix stuff. It's pretty obvious that's just the way my body is. And the baby's staying up there despite already miscarrying once. So now I find out I have gestational diabetes, and I was like, oh my God. And then again, you don't know that this is not your fault. You are thinking there's something you could have done to prevent it. And now we know that is absolutely not true. And so, yeah, it got to the point where even though it was just the last maybe 8 weeks of my pregnancy, it felt like a lifetime. And that was 8 weeks of you're having to eat like 6 to 7 times a day.
And the thing is, you do it because you want this baby to get here safely and
exactly,
and be healthy.
Yeah.
And
when I think about my body being pregnant, my body was a champ. Like I did great. I feel so fortunate and so lucky. And then all these constant diagnoses were like freaking us out inside. Just like, I think you can hear my voice, like the anxiety of like, how.
And the truth is that would have been, it's because you know how precious this particular pregnancy is because of how old you are. And that is the part where you cannot fake the funk about your age because it's, you know what I mean? That I think that's what makes it, because I had anxiety the entire pregnancy too, because I had a loss before her. So every time was, going to the restroom and checking is like, do I see anything that looks weird? It's hard. But the important thing is all of that brought you your amazing Coda.
Yeah.
So Coda arrives and you have him in your arms. Like, what was that like for the first 24 hours? Was there any like special moment that happened that you can tell us about?
I will tell you something really amazing that happened. I mean, we had a bunch of good, amazing moments in the labor part of it. But the one that was really special was while Kat was pregnant, I would always talk to Coda in her tummy. So, and I would always say the same things. I would say, baby Coda, we love you. Mommy and Daddy are so proud of you. You're growing, being a strong boy or girl. We didn't know at the time, but we knew when we did know, we just called him that.
Boy, yeah.
Boy, and you grow healthy and strong for Mommy, Daddy. When he came out, he was crying and doing all this stuff, and they put him on Kat, and she's having her mommy moment. And, he calms down, but then he cries again. And then he started crying this one time, and I went up to him, and I said, Coda, Mommy, Daddy love you. And he stopped, and he, opened his eyes. And the nurse in the background goes, oh, my God, he knows his voice. And I was like, oh, my God, he knows my voice. Like that had, you could definitely tell that had, set in him. Yeah. That it was, a moment of, calm for him. And after that, he was, pretty chill. Mm-hmm. That moment really, set him back to calm. That was cool. That was, whoa. Aww. That's amazing.
Yeah, I have a song that I've been singing to Carice since she was in the womb, and I still sing it to her every morning. And so, and she's now she's so over it. She's like, yeah, I know the song.
But is it her comfort song? Can you tell?
It's one of them, but she wakes up. Usually, she wakes up smiling and like the best baby, making jokes, and she'll wake up and she'll go, "Hi, Mama. Hi, Dada." I'm like, well, hello, Curry. Good morning. Morning. It's the cutest thing. Now that she can talk, it's awesome.
Is it amazing?
Yeah. You wait until you hear Coda. Wait until you hear Coda say something. It's just like today. Yes, actually, today for the first time, she said, "I love you."
Oh,
so good.
We've been practicing that with him for so long. Yeah, that's so cool. Did you freak out when you heard it?
I couldn't. I was in a minor key, I was just sitting there, and she took her hand and put it on my chin, and she said, and she turned it and she said, I love you.
Aww.
I know.
So cute.
She's amazing.
What an
She's
oil
amazing.
change.
Yeah, it was the cutest. It was the cutest.
So cool.
I wanted to ask, for you guys as a couple, has there ever been a moment where the relationship has hit like a stagnant kind of wall when it comes to intimacy or communication since having Coda? What have you used to get through that moment?
Yeah.
Mm.
Like, definitely is the answer. Like,
Yeah.
nobody is immune to that, I don't think. And like, something that Kurt recognized really quickly is that, like, he's so in tune with this way more than me. Like, I'll notice the effects of it, but he'll notice what is happening, like, as it's happening. And so one of them is that when you become a parent or even part of a marriage and you start to take on, like, married, houses, finances, child, all these different things, you start to solely communicate to each other logistically. And nothing is less sexy than negotiating life with someone you're supposed to have sex with. Like, that is the word. And you don't realize the energy suck it takes on your soul and how you just start to treat each other like functional beings that are an end to a means. And I think that presents itself in people's relationship in different ways. I think there's the common, like, toxic masculine trope of, like, men just viewing their women as like, well, you just need to have sex with me this number of times and I'll be happy. And it's like, no, I know you don't work that way either, dude. You're just putting that in place because you've gotten to this logistical negotiation talk. That's your love language now, whether you like it or not, you know? And so, like, to get out of that really comes down to taking those moments. It's so cliche, but like that you did when you were dating, and everyone knows their thing. I like that love languages are so prevalent now because people, like, you know, the thing that's important to your partner. And so for Kurt, it's always like going on dates. If we don't, like, it's not about the activity of going on a date, but it is like if going on a date where we're talking about non-functional things, we're just laughing and joking about stupid things, something we saw on Twitter, you know, like observing people in a restaurant, talking about the food and what we think about it, and that makes me think of this, and it makes me think of this childhood memory, like those types of connections that used to happen regularly when it was just the two of you and you didn't have these responsibilities. That is the only things that are going to bring you closer. And so it's not just the talking, so it's touching if that's your thing. So for me and Kurt, like, when we're having a hard time or Kurt's having a hard time, I will start to, like, retract a little bit and I will want to touch him less. Like, even in that moment, I want to touch him less. So if I just go to him and, like, put my body on him or touch his arm or come closer, hey, can I hug you right now? Even though it feels scary, like, that is not my style to be like, can I hug you when you're angry? Like, it's so weird. But, like, if I go in to hug him or ask to hug him, it's always like welcome with open arms. Doing those things that you know are your partner's hot button, like love button, if you will, that's the only stuff that will bring you closer together. And going on dates is not easy. We're one of those families that, like, we don't have mothers and, like, we don't have grandparents in our lives to take our children whenever we feel like it. We have to actually hire a young person of our choosing that will take our child for the night while they're sleeping. That's just one way. What are you thinking of?
No, I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, I think that it's not just a problem with, you know, being parents necessarily. I think parents create the perfect storm, or parenting creates the perfect storm for, hey, instead of us just hanging out together, let's solve this next problem that we need to figure out, and get ahead of things, you know, because as a parent, you're either behind or you're just staying afloat no matter how hard you work. So I think that there's kind of like a draw that when it's the end of the day or when it's on a date even, it's like, let's talk about kids. Let's talk about what we're doing. Let's talk about this. And it really is important that it's like, no, you know, there's got to be, when you go on a date, you know, we try not to talk about our baby, you know, like until it's time. And really try to immerse ourselves, even as it might be difficult, seeing each other as the sexual beings that we are. And really kind of like, for lack of a better word, like really drawing that label out, like doing things that will encourage both of us to see us that way. Because I think a lot of people mistakenly think that the spark goes away. It's not. The spark is there, You just both have to get dressed up and go out to an environment where you're used to seeing each other in that way. That brings the spark out. But opening your phone again when the waiter goes away and looking at baby pictures or talking about daycare tomorrow and whether or not the food's done, that's going to bring it back. So it's kind of like, I think that a lot of people feel helpless rather than, look, this is going to be hard, but we got to not talk about Coda tonight. Let's go out, let's get some food, and let's just talk about literally nothing. Let's talk about what's on Netflix. Let's talk about something, you know? And you have to both hold each other accountable, you know? We'll do the thing of like, at least when we were going on our dates, of like, hey, let's, you know, I know you're talking about Coda, but let's try to talk about something else. And Cap doing that for me too. And like, okay, yeah, you're right. Not getting angry at each other, but literally being like, yeah, we're helping
keeping
each
you
other
accountable. And you're keeping each other accountable. Like, no, come on, let's stay on task. We're keeping it sexy tonight.
That's
exactly.
Right. That's right.
I wanted to ask you, it's really nice to hear the male perspective in this. So it's,
thanks.
I look forward to seeing maybe the two of you on a live one day. Maybe you do your own. I'll be there because I really love hearing both of your perspectives. But Kat, you were a makeup artist before being a dating, relationship coach. So that was a change that your relationship also had to go through in career change, right? So
I feel like what didn't change for everybody over these past 2 years.
Was that due to COVID?
Yeah. So that transition from corporate and having that corporate job, it's interesting how easily you can just transfer all those skills into something new. So dating coaching was something I was already doing for friends of mine on the side. It was really interesting. And I started to notice this pattern, like in all my research. I'd now researched 8 years of how do we stand in our feminine power to attract the best man for ourselves? And I felt like I had done it myself, you know, not to brag, but I'm pretty proud of like what happened. And so I started educating myself a long time ago, and now I just need to educate myself on being an entrepreneur. And the crazy thing about being primed for this in our lives and our transition is Kurt had only ever been an entrepreneur. I had only ever worked corporately. And now we're kind of flip-flopping, which is really interesting. And he's able to easily support me because a lot of being an entrepreneur is doing these things on your own. You feel like you're alone. There's nobody else who knows the stuff that I'm going through. This is crazy because you have to do every role and you have to do the social media roles and everything. And so Kurt's easily able to champion me, even if it's just emotionally. I can just vent to him about like, can you believe this happened? I don't know how to do this. Like learning all this new technology, everything that goes with being an entrepreneur. But the coolest thing was finding clients. So like my first and all the way to my 5th or 6th client now have all been referrals. So those friends I used to coach, they referred paying clients to me. And now those paying clients have referred more clients. And then another friend of mine who is a beauty and wellness coach referred one of her clients to me. And now I have a roster of clients that I didn't even anticipate. I thought I was going to have to build more and meet strangers online like I did with dating. And it hasn't been the case. It's gone so smoothly. And I feel like that is a good sign that you're in the right place.
Well, I mean, hello. You obviously sound like you know what you're doing and you're already doing it within your own relationship. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's true.
It's easy to see when someone's actually using the advice that they give. It's applicable to their own relationship because no one wants to go to somebody who's single, hasn't been married. Well, I mean, there are dating coaches out there that are single.
I was about to say that, like, you'd be surprised.
But I mean, but I'm always like,
I'm like, why is that man not married? You're taking his advice. That's a little bit odd. So I do feel like I wouldn't have a leg to stand on if I didn't go through what those women had already been through. And so that's why my niche that I've selected, because I see the need for it, is women who are successful but single, have a unique set of traits that has been put upon them by life and this patriarchy and society that prevents them from attracting the kind of man who is going to show up for them. And it's the same thing I said earlier. It's not their fault at all, but they have a responsibility. And once they realize that responsibility, the light bulbs go off, and it's hopeful because they don't realize they have so much more control than they think they have. They're so busy controlling other things when they can actually control what they bring to the table, and so what men are attracted to.
Okay, so what do I do if I'm 40 and I'm single and I am looking to start a family soon and I'm on that first date? Like, how do I handle bringing up a subject like that on a first date?
Yeah, I say bring it up first thing. And obviously that's different for everybody and everyone has a different communication style. So I would say that like this is where getting help is critical because a lot of people don't know what dating coaches will do, right? But the fact is nobody taught us how to date. So you just got to humble yourself and realize I don't know how to date if I haven't found my successful end of this yet, right? And so to date to reach your goal is where you would need a coach to reflect on you and help you understand what are the things you're bringing to the table that are helping, what are the things you're bringing to the table that are hurting that someone else, your potential partner, is reading as negative or is something you could work on to be a better partner in a relationship, right? That's what everyone's assessing. How is this person a partner as a relationship? So number one, getting the help. But number two is do not be shy to bring up that that's what you're looking for. I think that even on your profile, like most people are dating online, right? So on your profile, it should say that you're looking for something serious. Do not be dismayed that people who are not looking for something serious are still going to try to hook up with you. But it's your job to say no to the ones who are clearly not looking for what you're looking for. And definitely bring it up on the first date in a way that is fun and enjoyable. Talking to someone about their future is always fun. So asking them where a family and marriage plays into that should not be as taboo as we all make it to be in modern dating. It's only taboo because we're all stuck in this chaotic hookup mentality when that's not actually your goal. So you don't have to bring that to the table.
Yeah, and I think if I can add one thing onto that, Kat talks about this a lot, which is, a lot of women will talk about how, they're intimidated to talk about these things on a first date because, I don't want to make a man feel like I'm trying to control him or, if I talk about kids too soon, it might scare him away. The truth is that there's a small percentage of men out there who are trying to get with any woman that they can. So when you bring up kids to that guy and guaranteed that guy is hitting every girl that he can, you're not like the only one who's getting this type of guy. This guy goes in cycles with every girl that he can find on Tinder. He's the one super power swiping. When you bring it up with him and you get that reaction from that man's going to make it feel like it's your fault. But that's because that man is a sad man. He wants to make it your fault because he doesn't want to own the fact that he just got outed as a guy who doesn't want kids, doesn't want a serious relationship, doesn't want to get married, and doesn't care about what you want. So the truth is, when you find that man,
but still responded to you anyway, even though you were clear that that's what you wanted. Because there's nothing wrong with being a man who doesn't want those things.
Exactly.
But presenting as if you do, presenting as if you do to someone who's actually looking for something serious, that's where the offense is, right?
Right. Well, and also too, it's like if you know you want kids as a woman, but you feel nervous to bring it up because it might scare the man away, then you're actually inviting in men who don't want to deal with that question. If you're confident that you know what you're looking for when it comes to kids, marriage, or even relationship or whatever, when you bring that up, you should be filtering out that person if they can't handle that question. And by can't handle it, I don't mean can't answer yes or no. A man can be very confident and say, I don't want kids. And then you both know respectfully, this is not going to work out. I want kids. You don't. This is cool. We could be friends. Good luck to you on your road and good luck to myself on my road. But it's the man that when they bring it up, that the man fidgets, gaslights, changes the subject, doesn't want to talk about it, blames you for bringing it up. That guy does that to every woman because he doesn't want to deal with the fact that he's being confronted and being outed as a man who has not good intentions. Yeah. And by not good, I mean, if you want to have a fun one-night stand, that's the right guy. But if you're trying to build a family or you're trying to find a serious partner, you got to weed that guy out and not let him make you feel guilty about putting your demands of what you want in your life out there.
Yeah, I think in general, women, that demand part is, I think that's gotten the bad rap, It's kind of, because it could be reworded as confident, right? But then when people start saying, well, you're demanding, it's like, no, I'm just telling you what I would like. That's what I want in my life. There shouldn't be an issue for that, but I think we're wired to think that is a negative thing.
Yeah, and it's the thing is like that wiring really messes with us because so many women these days, the mistake I see them making is they think they can do both at the same time. I can be
Yeah.
the I'm okay with the hookup girl and still be looking for my husband. And the truth is that is not how it works. It is your responsibility to choose so that you do get those quality men who are looking for that higher level love that you're looking for. So you can't be hooking up with the guy who's not that serious and tomorrow say, but I still want the husband. It doesn't work that
Right.
way. Your
Right.
standards, once they are broken, they start falling apart one by one by one. That's, I think, the big misconception. A lot of women who are ready for that step in that life genuinely, they're tricked by modern dating into thinking that it's okay to hook up and look for my husband, and you just can't. They
Yeah,
just be
you're not
confident
going
about
to
it.
attract you're
Yeah.
not going to attract ultimately what you want. And I would like to ask Kurt, what do you love about Kat?
What do I love about Kat? Oh my gosh. I've never met someone who is as thoughtful as Kat, who will put in the work with me to build a happy family. We both come from very difficult family backgrounds. And so finding someone that you can build this future with in an ideal, healthy relationship that you don't even know how to model it and take that journey with someone takes a lot of trust and a lot of faith and a lot of courage. And that's what I love about Kat the most is, I mean, she's just a passionate fighter for what she wants. And from the moment that we met each other, we were both aligned with, let's make the family that we both wanted to grow up in together. And we don't know what that looks like and we don't know how we're going to get there, but we're never going to give up on it. And that's what we've done. Yeah.
Oh, Kat, what do you love about Kurt?
I love this since when I met him. Like he's capable of turning nothing into something. Like he's always been capable of that. It's really nuts. He's a game designer, and I've seen him just take ideas just out of his brain and make them into real, actual, tangible, touchable things. I think that's like the coolest skill that you could ever have. And like, I feel that way about our relationship too, where he holds our relationship to such a high standard, like creatively, communication wise, where we spend our time, our energy. Like he's always pushing, always growing, always learning. And I think it is that ability to like, I feel like that's the residual effect of it, that he can just take nothing and turn it into something all the time and make it something great and amazing.
I love that. And Kari loves you guys, apparently.
Kari, we
Oh,
love
we
you.
love
You're
you
so
too.
cute.
Oh, and thank you, Kari, for joining us this week. I'd like to thank Kat and Kurt and Jeff, of course, for sharing some very useful nuggets of wisdom today. No more phones at dinner, Desi, I promise. To find out more about all that Kat has to offer as a coach, visit CathrynBieg.com and follow her on Instagram, Cathryn Bieg, CathrynBieg. And you can find Curtis on twitch.tv/CurtisWow and CurtisWow on Instagram. And while you're there, don't forget to follow New Mommy at 40 on Instagram and Facebook. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. See you next Monday.